Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be comparing all three versions of the Leatherman Skeletool. Originally released in 2008, the Leatherman Skeletool was created to be a very lightweight version of the iconic plier-based Leatherman tool. Weighing at only a mere 5 ounces, the Leatherman Skeletool definitely holds up to its name. It's compact in both its weight and its footprint, and has been a fan favorite by many. And since 2008, Leatherman has come out with different versions of the Skeletool. First up is the Skeletool CX, which is essentially just a more premium version of the traditional Skeletool. They also made the Skeletool SX, which has since then been discontinued. And lastly, they made the Skeletool RX, which is essentially a first responder and rescue version of the Skeletool. In this video, I'm going to be comparing all three current available versions of the Leatherman Skeletool, and we'll find out which version of the Skeletool is right for you. First up, in terms of sizing and specs, all three versions of the Skeletool have the same exact specs. I'll flash the specs up right now, and those numbers are the same for all three versions. In terms of materials and build, with the exception of the blade steel, all three versions of the Skeletool are made out of stainless steel and aluminum. In terms of the colorways, the traditional Skeletool comes in a wide variety of different colors. The version I have right here is easily the most plain version. It's just the raw stainless steel, but it does come in a wide variety of other colorways as well as special editions. The Skeletool CX currently only comes in this black finish, and for those of you who are wondering why some other Skeletool CXs have carbon fiber scales, I don't have the exact answer. I just know that a few years ago Leatherman made the Skeletool CX with carbon fiber scales, which was definitely cool as the standard, but as of recently the Skeletool CX simply comes in black stainless steel and no carbon fiber. And lastly, in terms of the Leatherman RX, it only comes in this nice bright red colorway. In terms of pricing, the traditional Skeletool retails for around $75, and both the Skeletool CX and RX retails for $90, which is a $15 price increase over the classic Skeletool. By far the most defining feature of each Skeletool has got to be the blade style as well as the blade material. All three versions of the Skeletool are in the same kind of modified sheep's foot blade, but in terms of blade style, the classic Skeletool comes in a combination edge. As you can see in the front, you have a traditional plain edge, and then in the back of the blade, you get some serrations. Some people don't like it. Some people prefer just a plain edge or a fully serrated edge, but for those of you who want the best of both worlds, this is definitely a solid option. And of course, all of these Skeletools feature a liner locking blade that can be closed and opened with one hand. The classic Skeletool's blade is made out of 420HC stainless steel. 420HC is a classic American-made steel that is utilized in a majority of Leatherman's knife blades. It excels in toughness and has good stainlessness, and it does lack in edge retention, but with that, it makes it a lot easier to sharpen in the field and allows it to be tougher. Moving on to the Skeletool CX, features a full plain edge blade, and the plain edge blade is made out of 154cm stainless steel. 154cm is considered an upgrade over 428C in terms of its edge retention and stainlessness. While it's not as tough as 428C, you do get a lot more edge retention, so you won't have to sharpen it as often, and it has better corrosion resistance. The Skeletool CX has been a favorite of many due to its plain edge blade with a more premium steel. And lastly, moving on towards the Skeletool RX, its blade is fully serrated and is also made out of 154cm steel. As I said earlier, the Skeletool RX was made to be a first responder and rescue version of the Skeletool, so the fully serrated blade is good for cutting through fibrous materials like seatbelts and thicker clothing, and maybe even some thick ropes. Serrated blades already have an advantage over plain edge blades in terms of edge retention due to the serrated nature, but the fact that the 154cm blade has even more edge retention over 428C makes this fully serrated blade on the RX a very reliable cutting tool. In terms of similarities, all three Skeletools feature the carabiner at the top of the tool that also doubles as a bottle opener, and on the back of both models, all three versions of the Skeletool feature a nice pocket clip. All three versions of the Leatherman Skeletool feature bit storage on one of the plier handles that can store one proprietary Leatherman bit. The pliers themselves and the handles are the same across all three versions. You get both regular and needle nose pliers, as well as both regular and hard wire cutters. Keep in mind that the Skeletool's plier head is a lot smaller than the plier heads of, say, the Leatherman Wave and the Leatherman Free series, and even the Leatherman Wingman family. So if you're trying to utilize the pliers for more heavy duty tasks, just be careful since it isn't as strong as the other Leatherman models. All three versions of the Skeletool feature the same bit driver design in the sense that you get the standard bit driver that holds the Leatherman bit that can easily be swapped. With the Skeletool's design, you do get a long handle and you get a good amount of torque when utilizing the screwdriver. Moving on towards the included bits of the Skeletools, the classic Skeletool and the Skeletool CX both include the same exact bits. They both include the number 1 and number 2 Phillips head combination bit, as well as the 1/4 inch and 3/16 inch combination flathead bit. The Skeletool RX, on the other hand, features a completely different bit set than the Leatherman Skeletool and Skeletool CX. In terms of the actual screwdrivers it comes with a combination number 1 and number 2 Phillips head bit, as well as a 3/16 flathead bit, and then on its main bit it has a 1/4 inch flathead bit. But on the other side it has a special bit that isn't a screwdriver, and that's actually a carbide glass breaker. Because the RX is supposed to be the rescue version of the Skeletool, Leatherman incorporated a carbide glass breaker into their proprietary bits and allowed it to be utilized in a very cool way. With the carbide glass breaker tip equipped, hold the Skeletool RX like this, and at the corner of a car window, smash it like this and break open the window. And that is going to do it for the comparison between all three versions of the Leatherman Skeletool. In terms of which one is right for you, it really comes down to personal preference. Obviously, if you're a first responder or simply want a Skeletool that can double as a rescue tool, maybe you just want to leave this in your car and when the time comes, you have a rescue tool ready when you need it, I definitely recommend the Leatherman Skeletool RX. And for those of you fellow first responders watching this video, Leatherman actually has a first responder discount, so be sure to sign up for that and get the awesome Skeletool RX at a discount. For those of you who don't care about the rescue aspect of the RX, it obviously comes down to the classic Skeletool and the CX, and really that's going to come down to your preference on the blade. Do you want a full plain edge blade or do you want a combination edge? If you don't really care for serrations and also want a more premium blade steel, go for the CX, but if you're okay with the classic 428C and actually want a combination edge, the classic Skeletool is the way to go, and it also comes in a wide variety of colorways. So which Leatherman Skeletool version do you guys prefer? I'd definitely like to know down in the comments. So that's gonna do it for this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, follow me on my socials. If you really loved the video, please consider leaving a super thanks in the tip jar below, and thanks for watching.